Hi, my name is Dagur Guðmundsson. I'm a fly fishing guide for Atlantic salmon and brown trout in Iceland, and then carp and bass in California. Today I'm going to be tying my version of the Primordial Carp Stew, which is a fly by Trevor Tanner. He's one of the original carp on the fly anglers. And this fly is just kind of a generalist imitation of whatever you want it to be. Here I'm tying it orange, so it'll pop out as a crayfish imitation. It can be kind of a buggy worm. It can be a clam. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a dragonfly. If you tie it in green, it'll be more dragonfly. If you tie it in black, it'll work more in colored waters. But generally, this fly is basically built with this kind of buggy silicone rubber leg back, and that helps keel the fly, so when it lands in the water, it'll sink with the hook up, which is what you want when you're fishing a fly on the bottom, so it doesn't get hung up in the grass, and so it gets a good hook set in the roof of the mouth when you set the hook. The mop really helps the fly stand out. It slows down the fall. At least where we're at, the carp really love that slow fall in front of their face. So the mop really slows that fall down and helps it stand out in a lot of the flooded vegetation, especially with the year we've had this year. That really helps. And I'm tying it with bead chain eyes, just because I like that slow fall. If you need that to sink faster, if you're fishing a river or something, you can obviously throw a dumbbell eyes on it. The dubbing in the front will help slow that fall down. If you want it to sink faster, you can skip the dubbing up top and just keep it a clean head. But in general, this is a super simple, buggy fly that can imitate whatever you want it to be. Tie it in different sizes, tie it smaller, tie it larger. Works for carp, probably works for trout too, but you don't use a carp fly for trout. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, just going to set down a little thread base on the fly. Then I'm going to make a little bump right behind where I'm going to put my bead chain eyes. It doesn't have to be massive. And then we throw a little bump right in front of where the bead chain eyes are going to be placed. And this is just to keep them in place when you put them down. Just helps the fly over the course of a couple fish. Not for the eyes to roll. So tie those eyes down, and I like to just zigzag on each side, pop over each eye on its own, and then drop under the eyes like so. Spin it, give it a good tug down, and those eyes are not going to go anywhere. So we're going to take the most beautiful fly tying material known to man, and it is the mop. This is a bright orange one to fit that carrot theme. I'm going to wrap that down. And you can use whatever color of mop you want. If you throw green on there, it'll look more like a dragonfly nymph. If you throw black on there, it can be good in dirty water. Whatever you want. But here, we're using orange. Then I'm going to take these tweener rubber legs. Just basically really small rubber legs. You can use whatever you want. You can even use a scud back. But pretty much the main purpose of this is just to help keel the fly. It'll kind of make the back of the fly, the bottom of the fly pretty much not as bulky as the top. And that's going to be the key in helping the fly kind of ride hook up. And just for the sake of the wind, I'm going to trim these down pretty short. Then I'm going to take my thread, throw in a little dubbing loop here, like so. Throw on my dubbing spinner. I'm going to grab this Kraken dubbing here, but you can use whatever dubbing you want. I like this stuff because it's pretty buggy. It's got all these little rubber legs and stuff in it in different colors that make it look super buggy, and it adds to the overall effect of the fly. And I think with carp, they like buggy stuff. Not always, but sometimes. Most of the time. Let that sit there. And spinner. Make sure none of those rubber legs get caught in there. it back, spin the spinner, make sure it's all nice and tidy. I want to use my little pet brush here to brush out the dubbing loop, just to make sure most of those legs aren't getting sucked into the thread. Then I'm going to wrap my dubbing loop over the body, all the way to the eyes. And I made kind of a big dubbing loop here, so I'll kind of just wrap it forward. Take my thread, wrap around, and I want to kind of finish it on the bottom, so the bulkiest side is where the hook is, just so that fly will swim correctly, hook up. Trim that off, like so. Give it a couple good wraps. It's sitting nicely. Take my pet brush here and get most of those fibers down and out. Take my tweener legs, wrap them over the back of the fly, and then tie them down. Like so. So now you've got kind of a bug back on this fly, and that's just going to help the hook right up. It's going to help you hook less weeds and stuff, and you'll hook those carp right in their top lip. You see how the back is on the back of the fly, and then most of the bulk's on top. So when that sinks, it's going to right hook up. And we'll trim this down a little bit later, but you want it to be pretty buggy. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of brown dubbing. Doesn't matter what it is, whatever suits your need. This has got a little bit of flash in it. It kind of matches the main color of the fly. You can use Antron, you can use whatever you want. But the main point of this fly is it's pretty customizable to match whatever you want. You can match the sizes up, whatever. And I'm going to take this brown dubbing, wrap it a couple times behind the eyes, and then I'm going to zigzag the thread through the eyes like so. And then just do a few wraps in front. And what this does, it makes it look, one, it makes it look a little buggy. Two, it just helps slow down the fall of this fly. If you don't have a clean head, it'll fall a little slower. If you want a faster sink, you can use dumbbell eyes, and you can skip the dub over the eyes, because that's going to make more of a bullet style head that'll sink nice and fast. You tie that down like so. Beautiful. Clean up any stray legs that are being blown around by the wind. If you're tying outside, if you're like a sane person and tying inside, you don't need to do that. Then you just finish it off with a little dab of UV. And for carp flies, I just like a little bit of UV. If you're using nail polish or varnish, it'll smell, and that'll throw the carp off. So I just like solid UV glue. Torch it, make sure it's all nice and clean, and voila, we've got a carrot carp stew.